Well, my book talk buddy, Liz, and I are going to share with you some picture books that we are going to be sharing with some of our elementary students. But like all picture books, they're often good for all age levels. But these in particular, we are gearing you towards an elementary audience. And the first one I'm going to share is one of my all-time favorite books. It makes me laugh every single time I read it. And it is a short book, and I know the ending, and I can't help it. I still laugh. So I hope you'll enjoy hearing about Stephanie's ponytail today. Okay? I will warn you, the book has a little bit of a teasing element to it, and I don't want you to think I like it because people tease Stephanie. I like it because it uses humor to deliver a lesson at the end. So Stephanie's the kind of girl who likes to be different. She doesn't want to look like everybody else. So one day she notices, you know, nobody in my school wears a ponytail. So she goes to her mother and she says, Mom, can you make a nice ponytail in the back of her head, kind of like I have on today? And her mom says, sure, Stephanie, no problem. So she gives Stephanie a nice ponytail in the back of her head. But when Stephanie goes to school, all the kids look at her and go, oh, ugly, ugly, very ugly, very ugly. And Stephanie goes, well, it's my ponytail, and I like it. So Stephanie goes to school the next day, and you can imagine her shock to see that all the girls are wearing ponytails, just like Stephanie had. And she's like, oh, you're a bunch of copycats. You have no brains in your head. You just did what I did. So Stephanie goes home, and her mom says, Stephanie, would you like another ponytail? She goes, no. And her mom says, well, that's that. There's only one way to wear a ponytail, and that's in the back of your head. She goes, no, I'd like a ponytail to the side. So Stephanie kind of rigs a nice ponytail on the side of her head, coming out her ear. Okay. And her mom says, well, that's a little strange, but okay, you know, go ahead. And so Stephanie goes to school, and once again, the kids look at her and go, ugly, ugly, very ugly. And Stephanie says, huh, well, it's my ponytail, and I like it. Well, the next day, all of the girls, and even some of the boys, have ponytails coming out the side of their ears. And this goes on and on. By the end of the story, there are teachers that are copycatting Stephanie, and she just gets more and more frustrated because what does she want to be? Different. So, Stephanie devises a plan. And if you want to know how Stephanie deals with all these copycatters, you're going to have to read Robert Munch's Stephanie's Ponytail with the artwork by Michael Marchenko. It's a wonderfully funny story, and you won't forget the ending. Y'all have favorite foods? Anybody's favorite food, lima beans? Anybody wants them? No? You guys like lima beans? No? Well, the character in our next story, Camilla Cream, loves lima beans. Loves them. She never eats them. She doesn't eat them because Camilla is so worried about what other people think that she's afraid that if she eats lima beans or she admits to eating lima beans, kids will think she's weird. So Camilla does not eat lima beans, her favorite food. In fact, Camilla worries about just about everything. This is the first day of school, and Camilla is trying on no less than 42 outfits. She's got to find the perfect one, because there's a lot of people she must impress. So after trying all these outfits, she decides on this pretty little red number here. And you can imagine, when she turns to look in the mirror, her shock and her horror when she realizes that she is covered in head to toe with rainbow stripes. Her mother comes in and says, oh, Camilla, you can't go to school. You have stripes from head to toe. We must get the doctor in. And the doctor comes in and checks her out and says, do you feel okay? Are you in pain? Are you sneezing? Are you coughing? Are you trembling? And she said, no, I feel fine. He says, well, you gotta go to school. And that's when things go from bad to worse for Camilla. The kids kind of look at her and start teasing her. They're calling her Camilla Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. And then something even stranger happens. As she stands to say the Pledge of Allegiance, Camilla's stripes turn red, white, and blue, and she breaks out in stars. Well, the kids kind of catch on that no matter what they suggest, her stripes will change. So if they say checkerboard, for polka dots. Her stripes are going to change according to what they call out. So the principal says, we cannot have this. And he sends Camilla home and calls her parents and says, she's too distracting, you can't have her in school. And this is Camilla's worst nightmare. She's the butt of everybody's jokes. The news media are camped outside her house. They're calling it the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. And all she wants to do is run and hide. Experts, nutritionists, herbalists, gurus come in to try to help Camilla. Nothing seems to be working. Will Camilla ever be normal? Is there a cure for stripes? Check out David Shannon's A Bad Case of Stripes, who uses creative, intensive illustrations to draw you into this story, and it's one you won't forget.
Now, Shannon's book, her last book, A Bad Case of the Stripes, dealt with some really strange and magical things happening, and my first book does as well. What would you do if you saw an egg that looked like this, and it spoke and said, "Pick me, pick me"? But you also saw an egg that looked like this and said, "Don't pick me, don't pick me." Which one would you pick? That's exactly what happens to the characters in this book, The Talking Eggs by Robert Sansucci. It was one of my favorite books when I was a kid, and I love the illustrations. The illustrator Jerry Pinkney is one of my favorites. He draws wonderful magical creatures like a two-headed cow, and my favorite illustration of all, dancing rabbits. Now, in this story, there are two sisters. It's kind of like the Cinderella story that way. There's Blanche, who's kind and sweet and obedient. And then there's Rose, who's mean and greedy and bossy. And her mother's just like Rose. Now, they're so awful to Blanche that she runs away to the woods. And there she's helped by an old woman who takes her back to her house. And that's where she meets all these magical things like two-headed cows and dancing rabbits. And Blanche is very kind to the old woman and doesn't make fun of her. So the old woman tells her, go out to the hen house and take the eggs that say, "Pick me, pick me." So Blanche goes out and she sees two types of eggs. The first type, plain and boring eggs like this that say, "Pick me, pick me." And she also sees the pretty, shiny, bejeweled eggs that say, "Don't pick me, don't pick me." Now Blanche is very smart and obedient, and she knows to listen to a magical old woman. So she picks the plain, boring egg, and look what comes out of it. There's jewels, shiny, beautiful jewels, and coins, and even fancy clothes. When she gets home, Rose and her mother really want this treasure too. So the mother sends Rose out to look for the old lady. And Rose isn't so very kind to the old woman, but she wants to pick out the jeweled eggs, so she does. And if you want to find out what comes out of these type of eggs, the pretty shiny ones, and what happens to Rose and the mother, you'll have to read this book to find out. The Talking Eggs by Robert Sansucci. Now, we're going to take a little journey. All our books have been taking place in the United States. Our last one, The Talking Eggs, took place in the American South. It was a folktale. Now we're going to travel all the way to Africa and learn about an animal there and a nonfiction book. Does anyone know what this is? It's a meerkat. Yes, and I didn't know what it was until I read this book, Meerkats by Jody Sullivan Rake. And in it, I found out they're an animal, a small animal that lives in Africa, the southern part of Africa. And I really enjoyed learning all sorts of different things about meerkats, such as they can run across the savanna on all fours like this. Or they can stand up on their hind legs and look for danger and guard like this. I also found out what they eat. One of the things they eat is scorpions. They also eat insects and even spiders. Now, I wouldn't want a meerkat's diet, but they do like to sunbathe, and I like to too, just like this. So, I also found out what the family life of the meerkat is and how they take care of their pups. And just look at this cute little picture of the meerkat pup. After I read this book, I wanted to learn more about meerkats. Luckily, there's a list in the back of the book of more books you can read about meerkats and an internet site you can go to. I even found one of the books, Meet the Meerkat by Darren Lund. So I was thinking, as my elementary class, maybe after you read the books about the meerkats, I can come back and we can pretend to be a meerkat family. And you can be different roles, like some of you can be the pups, and one of you could be the guard, and one could even be the meerkat matriarch, which leads the meerkat mob, the meerkat family around. So think about that while you're reading these books. And see you soon. And this is not part of the book talk, but I did do that with my preschool class, and I have pictures of them acting out the different roles, so I'll just pass that around. And I'll pass out the meerkat too, the little fuzzy meerkat. Sometimes it's nice to have a little stuffed animal.